Okay, in the previous video we are successfully able to execute our Vue.js application, right? Laravel Vuejs Laravel application, and we are successfully able to mount our first component here, right? And now the time is to install the Vue.js router. What is Vue.js router? So basically we are using the web.php file to handle Laravel application routes. So similarly for the Vue.js we need the Vue router to define our route and execute our client side routes, right? So as I told that I'll not use any of the Laravel routes. I'm going to create the Vue.js routes. So let's close these files. I'm going to close these files, and here I'm going to on the Google. I'm doing this is on the Google, so you can search them later. So just type this Vue.js Vue.js router. Okay, just type this and let's close this one. I think this one is okay. Vue router. This one is the official docs of Vue router. Let's click on this get started, and here you can install this using npm, or whether you want to use a yarn or something like this. So just to package manager, if you are using JavaScript package manager, you can install the Vue.js router from the npm registry. Whatever you will enter this will be this will work for you. I'm going to close this now for this for a moment, and then I want to install this, and then I'll run it again, right? Okay, it's now installing the Vue router, right? So it's pretty much fast. Yeah, it's very fast. Okay, now I run this npm run dev. Our Vue router is installed, and now I need to manage my routes in my application. So just go here in the JS, do not create them into the components. In the JS you need to create a router directory, right? Router, and in the router you need to create your index.js file. So here I'm going to keep my routing here, right? So very first you need to import the create router stuff, create router, right? From Vue router, right? Vue router. Okay, and then we need to create the routes, our routes here. So first I'm going to create my routes, so array here. So I'm going to say that routes called array, and then in the array I'm going to first create my first route. I'm going to say that first you need to define the path. So as you are after the get method you are specifying your route path. So I'm going to say I'm using this I want to now create a about us page. So here I will say that /about. So this path will responsible for opening the path, and then as Laravel we are using the name whatever that is the name of this, we are using the name route, right? So it's same, we can call our route with the URL or with the name. So I'm going to say that about, right? So we need to also import this component to run this out. Okay, and then I need to say that name, whatever my what is my component name. So I want to say that same about, right? Okay, and then here I need to call component, and in the component I need to mention my component name. I name this about, right? So here import this about, right? So we haven't created this about, so I'm going to create about us here. Just go here in the components, I'm going to say that about dot view, and here I'm going to say that template, and the template about us, right? Save this one and go back, and here I'm going to import this out, import about, right? Learn these things, that how I'm adding how I'm calling their name. So properly name them, so will easy to understand, right? If your application size is bigger. So now I'm located in the router, right? So I will first go back one step here, and then I'll move into the components. So just move to this component, something like this, and then call this about dot view, right? About.view. Perfect. And I added this out here. So now our route is figured, our route is created, and now we need to initialize our route. We added this here, create route, right? So I'm going to call this now create router, right? And in the router we need to pass here two things. First one pass, we need to pass the history, right? So we need to pass this history, or create a web history, right? Something like this, and this will be the function. Oh my god, what is has? No, there is no has. Create web history, something like this. And then you need to add your routes. So I'm calling this routes here, right? Or you can pass something like this, so routes as key and then routes as value. But if your key and value is same, so you can pass this something like this. And after creating this, you need to make sure that you are exporting this, right, to make this available for all of the component. So I'm going to store this into the router. Here I created a constant variable, and then here I'm going to export default. You can directly export default, and then I'm going to say that router, right? So you can directly call your export default here without defining your variable, but I did this so it's so easy to read on eye, right? So I created about route, then I create router and web history, then I am exporting this out. Okay, now I added my routes here, right? Added my routes here, and then I'm initializing those routes, right? And now after this I need to register this into my application. So in the app.js, this one is your overall application structure where your application instances is creating, right? So before creating the application, you need to before mounting your application, you need to create your router, right? So that's why I'm going to say here constant, I'm going to store this into the app variable first, right? So later on I can use this something app.mount, right? So before I written the previous lines, and these lines are same, right? So this will work same as it was working before. So why I did this, because I want to call these instances on the multiple first, right? So here I'm going to register my routes into my application. So just say that app.use and what it will use. So I want to say that it will use router, right? So for router we need to import our router here. So just import the router, import to router from router. So what's the path? It will be the router slash index.js. If you will not define this index, so by default it will load the index. Okay, save this one, and if I go here and now let's say that about, hit enter, and it's showing nothing, right? Okay, let me now figure out that what's the issue, why it's not executing my routes, right? So we are creating the app, we added our router index.js router, we are using this router here. Let's close this one, and in the route I'm using create router, create web history. What's creating? I did this mistake here. Create web history. Save this one and give it a refresh, and now it's displaying that welcome to the Vue.js Vue.js with the Laravel 10. Why it's showing this? Because we are rendering our app component here whenever we are mounting our application, right? So this one. So if I go here in the app.js, so I'm mounting my app here, right? So what is this app.js? This one is is used for handling our skeleton of application, right? So we will handle our master template here in this app.view file. So as we are doing in the Laravel, that we use yield, right, to render our child component inside our master layout. So we'll do this same, right? I'm going to now remove this, and if I here, if I want to say that render my component here, so I need to call this view router, something like view. I think it's a view router or router view. I'm confused. Okay, let's get refresh, and still it's not there. Router view or something. Okay, let me figure out the about. I'm rendering this about. Yeah, I open this about. That's fine. Maybe it's a different, like router view. I always forget this. Router view. Save this one, and yes, our this about us is rendered here, right? So I always forgot this, that is it router view or view router. Okay, so if I now comment this out, that there is nothing is here, right? So why I'm using this? Because whenever I'm rendering something like as we did this here, we created a route, and I'm initializing, I'm basically calling this router here, right? Whenever I'm building my application instances, I want to say that, hey, register those routes, right? I'm registering those routes, and after this, whenever I'm opening /app, right? So I need to pass this to parent component. If I want to render my child component, so I need to pass this into the parent one. So then this will be executed. So if I say that hello, so it will be executed after the hello. Let's see, and yes, hello, and then it's executing after the arrow, something like this. So in this way we can render our application. So I'll see you guys in the next video, because it's a prayer time, and hope you are learning a lot, and I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye bye.